Vogon poetry is of course the third worst in the universe. The second worst is that of the Asgoths of Krea. During a recitation by their poet master Grunthos the Flatulent of his poem
Held to a small lump of green putty I found in my armpit one midsummer morning.
4 of his audience died from internal hemorrhaging, and the president of the Mid-Galactic Arts Nobling Council survived by gnawing one of his own legs off. Grunthos is reported to have been
disappointed
by the poem's reception, and was about to embark on a reading of his 12-book epic entitled
My Favorite Bath Time Gargles,
when his own major intestine, in a desperate attempt to save life and civilization, leapt straight up through his neck and throttled his brain. The very worst poetry of all perished along with its creator, Paula Nancy Millstone Jennings of Greenbridge, Essex, England, in the destruction of planet Earth.
Oh, what's all that light over there? Oh!
Prostetnik Vogon Jeltz smiled very slowly. This was done not so much for effect as because he was trying to remember the sequence of muscle movements. He had a terribly therapeutic yell at his prisoners, and now was feeling quite relaxed and ready for a little callousness. The prisoners sat in the poetry appreciation chairs, strapped in. Vogons suffered no illusions as to the regards their work were generally held in. Their early attempts at composition had been part of bludgeoning insistence that they be accepted as a properly evolved and cultured race. But now the only thing that kept them going was sheer bloody-mindedness. The sweat stood out cold on Ford Prefect's brow and slid round the electrodes strapped to his temple. These were attached to a battery of electronic equipment. Imagery intensifiers, rhythmic modulators, alliterative resgulators, and simile dumpers, all designed to heighten the experience of the poem and make sure not a single nuance of the poem's thought was lost. Arthur Dent sat and quivered. He had no idea what he was in for, but he knew he hadn't liked anything that had happened so far and didn't think that that was likely to change. The Vogon began to read, a fetid little passage of his own devising.
Frattled grunt, Bugley,
he began. Spasms racked Ford's body. This was worse than he'd ever even been prepared for.
Thy mitricotions are to me as purdled gabble blotchins on a larged bee.
Ah! Went Ford Prefect, retching his head back as lumps of pain thumped through it. He could dimly see beside him Arthur lolling and rolling in his seat. He clenched his teeth.
Gloop, I implore thee,
continued the merciless Vogon.
My fruiting turtle dreams.
His voice was rising to a horrible pitch of impassioned stridency.
And hopelessly strangle me with crinkly biddle wordles, or I will rend thee gobble warts with my bluggle crutch, and you'll see if I don't.
Cried Ford Prefect, and threw one last final spasm as the electronic enhancement of the last line caught him full blast across the temples. He went limp. Arthur lolled.
Now, earthlings,
words the Vogon. He didn't know that Ford Prefect was, in fact, from a small planet in the vicinity of Beetlejuice, and wouldn't have cared if he had.
I present you with a simple choice. Either die in the vacuum of space, or...
He paused for melodramatic effect.
Tell me how good you thought my poem was.